Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful technologies ever invented, photography, the ability to capture a single moment in time.
It's something we do every day with our phones, right? Almost without even thinking about it. But did you ever stop and wonder how we, as a species, actually learned to do that? How did we figure out how to freeze time, to capture a scene and just hold on to it forever?
Well, the answer to that question, the whole beautiful, complicated story of photography, is actually hidden right there in the name itself.
So where do we even begin? It all starts with what the word actually means.
The word photography literally means drawing with light, and that is the absolute perfect description. It comes from two Greek roots, photos, which means light, and graphy, which means drawing. And that simple idea, using light itself to create a permanent image, that was the challenge that obsessed inventors for centuries.
And that was the core problem, For most of human history, we could see images that were projected by light, but we couldn't keep them. They were just these fleeting shadows.
Think about that for a second. The basic tech to project an image onto a surface, that's existed for thousands of years, but making that image stick around, that was the holy grail.
The crazy thing is, humanity had the two key ingredients for a very long time. We had the camera Obscura, which is just Latin for dark chamber, and it could project a live, upside-down image into a box. And we also knew that certain chemicals, like silver nitrate, reacted to light. The problem was control. No one could figure out how to stop the chemical reaction. The image you captured would either just fade away, or the whole thing would eventually turn black. But that all changed in the early 19th century. After centuries of trying, a few really persistent inventors finally cracked the code.
And when the breakthroughs came, they came really fast. In 1826, Nicephore Niepce made the world's first surviving photograph. The exposure took at least 8 hours. Then, just over a decade later, his partner, Louis Daguerre, got that time down to just a few minutes, and he captured the first image of a person. And then, and this is the big one, William Fox Talbot invented something called the collotype in 1840, which created a negative. That was the real game changer.
So these two inventions created two different paths for photography. The daguerreotype was kind of like a painting, a stunning, one-of-a-kind object. But Talbot's collotype process made a negative, and from a single negative, you could make infinite positive prints. It was that idea, the idea of reproducibility, that would ultimately win out and define photography for the next 150 years.
Okay, so the code was cracked. We could now make permanent, reproducible images. But there was a new problem. It was still incredibly difficult and super expensive.
You have to picture it. Early photography involved mixing dangerous chemicals, lugging around all this heavy equipment. You had to have a deep understanding of these really complex processes. It was a long, long way from something you could do on a family vacation. And then George Eastman and Kodak enter the scene. Now, he didn't just invent a new technology, he invented a whole new business model. First, he created flexible roll film, which got rid of those heavy glass plates. Then, he started selling simple, affordable cameras. And here is the genius part. He turned a product into a service. You didn't develop the film yourself, you sent the whole camera back to Kodak. Their slogan said it all. You press the button, we do the rest. And just like that, anyone could be a photographer.
For nearly a century, Kodak's film-based model completely dominated the world. But another revolution was brewing, one that would eliminate the we do the rest part entirely.
I mean, as revolutionary as film was, it still had its limits. There was the cost of buying it and developing it, the toxic chemicals involved, and maybe most importantly, the delay. You always had to wait to see your pictures. In just a couple of decades, that entire model was completely upended. Today, well over 99% of all photographs taken are digital.
The shift really started back in the 80s, when Sony introduced a camera that recorded images electronically. By 1991, Kodak, of all companies, released the first commercial digital SLR. But the really fundamental difference wasn't just the lack of film. See, a chemical photograph is a direct trace of reality. A digital file is just data. It's infinitely easy to manipulate. This was a huge shift from capturing reality to creating it. And the result was instant, editable, shareable images that completely changed our relationship with photography.
Which brings us to today, where the camera isn't just a tool we use, but it's a constant companion.
The writer Susan Sontag put it perfectly. She said that taking a photograph is a way of relating to the world, a way that feels like knowledge. And because of that, it feels like power. We don't just look at the world anymore.
we frame it, we capture it, and in a way, we possess it.
And so, what started as this little scientific curiosity, just a way to fix a fleeting shadow in a dark box, has become one of the most important tools for art, for journalism, for science, and for our everyday lives. It has completely reshaped how we see reality and how we tell our own stories.
Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. In an age of infinite images, where artificial intelligence can generate a photograph of something that never even existed, what does that mean for the future of drawing with light? What's the next step in this incredible 200-year journey?